So if you're anything like me, the very first chord you ever learned how to play was the A chord. Now, I've always been pretty dogmatic about how I expect chords to be fingered. Fingered. Get your head out of the gutter. But when it comes to an A chord, there are actually 3 acceptable ways that you can play it. The first is the way that pretty much we all learned, you know, our fingers 1, 2, 3, 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string, lined up nice and easy, right? But that's not actually how I play it. It is how I learned it, and it's how I've taught it to, you know, 1,000+ guitar students. But I play it a little differently for myself. You see, in the early days of teaching, I discovered another way to play it. So instead of being lined up like this, you put your first finger on the 3rd string and your middle finger on the 4th string. So your middle finger's kind of on top. Now, as soon as I started playing it that way, I was like, wow, this just feels so much better. It just did. It felt a lot better for my fingers to play it that way. It was easier to keep them near the sweet spot on the fret. And it also makes it easier to switch to the A major 7 chord. And if you're a Beatles fan, you can do this little chord progression quite easily. To A major 7, to A7. Now there's the 3rd way to play the A chord, and that's what I call the rock and roll way, where you just bar all 3 strings with your first finger. Now, the barring can be a little difficult, but really the only downside to playing it this way is that you kind of probably are going to mute the high E string. But despite that, it is still a perfectly acceptable way to play the A chord because you're playing the note E on the 3rd string anyway. Now, the great benefit of playing it with just a bar is that it frees up these 3 fingers to do all sorts of neat, interesting things. So how do you play it? Let me know in the comments.